Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Anonymous Squadcast. Tonight, our special guest is Eerie Nightmare from Company 008 on PlayStation 3, and we played Battlefield 3 with him pretty regularly, although it's been a couple weeks off for us. Tonight, in the news section, we're going to be bringing you a little snippet about the upcoming PlayStation 3 game, The Last of Us. We are going to talk a little bit about Battlefield 3 Premium, specifically the upcoming content drop. We are going to discuss DayZ and the possibility of console play. We're going to move a little bit into the Vita side of things. We're going to talk about cross-buying and a price reduction and a little bit about global sales. In our roundtable, we're going to be talking about free-to-play games and yearly releases on games. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to Eerie Nightmare, our special guest.
Howdy, everyone.
And as always, our co-host, Zitter. Zitter, tell us what you've been doing this week.
Hi guys. This week I've been playing a very different game. Last week I mentioned that I got my new laptop. I've been playing an MMORPG, and this is called Fallen Earth. It is kind of a cross between Fallout 3 and Borderlands. It is kind of a shooter, but for some reason, the developers of this RPG, they didn't focus this RPG more on shooting, but they focused this RPG more on crafting. So basically, in this RPG, you can craft any item in the game that you want to. And I've been trying to figure it out. It's a little complicated to get into. It's not that simple. So I've been probably wasting my time on this RPG. I've been playing it for 10 hours. I checked the number of hours I played on Steam. So maybe in a couple of weeks I'll let you guys know about how it's turning out and whether I'm enjoying it or not. Right now I'm not sure. What have you been up to, Noah?
Well, that actually sounds like a pretty cool game. And unfortunately, much on par with last week, I have not done much gaming this week. I got back from visiting with my grandmother and then had to go visit my parents. And then tomorrow I actually drive back home because I start school with orientation on Tuesday. So that's exciting. I recently purchased my girlfriend a PlayStation Vita for her birthday. So that is also exciting. So expect more Vita news to come.
Okay, so people who are not interested in Vita, you gotta force feed them.
Yes, because everyone is interested in the Vita, they just don't know it yet.
What have you been up to, Irie?
Well, over the last, I'd say week, I've been playing Battlefield 3 a lot, pretty much every night. But because, you see, I'm still in school here in Ireland, so I'm on my summer vacation at the moment, but of course over here I call it summer holidays, not summer vacation. So on my holidays, because I have so much free time, I sleep till about 1 p.m. every day because I'm up playing Battlefields most nights, trying to get on the same time as Nova, trying to get a game in, who has not been on regularly. No offense to you, but I'm also a heavy, very heavy browser gamer, and I play mainly two different browser games called Supremacy 1914, which won an award for best strategy game of 2009. But anyway, it's what would you call it? A strategy game based in World War One. You are a leader of a small country. You start off with 10 different provinces and 100,000 soldiers to control, and basically you're put on a map of either Europe with parts of North America, the Middle East, and North Africa, or it can vary from most of the continent of Africa, with the Middle East and parts of Europe, to most of Southeast Asia, uh, with part of Oceania as well. And basically, in this game, it's fairly straightforward. You make uh, temporary allies and try to conquer the entire map as quickly as possible with your limited amount of resources. And it's one of those games where you think you're going into it completely prepared, but because everyone starts out on a level basis, you need to get in there and completely destroy the opposing territories surrounding you. And it goes on for months. So I recall one game I played for a year and a half. It's you have to be very patient to play the game. But I also play a different game called Empire Universe 2, which is fairly famous in its own respect, and that won the same award in 2007 for Best Strategy Game of the Year, off the same company. Again, I don't recall the name. You're set on the planet, the ruler of a planet, and the universe is your oyster. You can do absolutely whatever you want. So just to put it in Nova's terms, just think of it as DayZ in space, kind of thing. If if you can understand that.
Yeah, you've been playing a lot of browser-based stuff. Is Empire Universe browser-based too?
Empire Universe 2 is browser based, yes.
Okay,
And
and
no downloads required. And it's free to play.
okay. I think we're gonna get into free-to-play talk later in our in a roundtable discussion. Okay, so Eerie, I think it's just me, because I know Noah doesn't agree with me on this, but I feel like that you're from Ireland and you do not have an Irish accent. The kind of Irish accent usually we hear on TV, your accent is very different from that accent. How do you explain that?
Okay, off the top of my head, I can recall a episode of The Simpsons where they get a magical leprechaun, and he has this so-called Irish accent, uh, that so many Americans think that I should probably have. But the thing is, there's really no such thing as an Irish accent. Like, I could say Nova has an American accent, but that would technically be untrue because he's from a certain part of America, and only pretty much that certain part of region or state of America, and maybe a little bit of the surrounding area as well, will speak his common accent. Whereas you would probably get a different accent in New York or Los Angeles, San Francisco, Miami, wherever. You get a different accent in these different parts of the country. And it's the same in Ireland. Granted, we're like 1,000th of the size of the United States of America, but we do have counties. Now, what you in America would consider a county, we would consider the size of a country, of a small country. But the same way you have 50 states in America, Ireland has 32 counties. And in each area, you have different people, and each of these different distinguished people have different accents. The
Oh,
same way as a person from New York will have different accents from a person in California.
okay,
If that makes more sense.
yeah, so the point is basically there is no central Irish accent. People from different areas have different accent, the same way it is in America.
Yeah, more or less.
Well, it's actually pretty interesting because so I'm currently getting my master's. I'm in grad school for communication, so it's kind of my job to study languages and dialects, accents, things like that. And in my studies, uh, the place in America that is supposed to be the pure accent is actually a small town in Nebraska. So, little interesting fact of the week. If you're from Nebraska, you speak right.
That is quite an interesting fact. And let's get on to our facts of the week, which is our news. Uh, I think Noah wants to talk about Last of Us and some new stuff which he saw and he liked.
Yes, well, we all know that Gamescom was happening this week, um, and they released quite a bit of information about The Last of Us. We're still waiting on, some finalized features and stuff, like what will the multiplayer actually be, things like that. But they posted a trailer video. It was different than the E3 trailer video, so that was exciting. We got to see a whole new thing. And the reason why I think this game well, there are multiple reasons why I think this game will succeed. But the reason I want to play this game, there are kind of three big ones. One, I like post-apocalyptic survival games. Two, it takes place in Pittsburgh, which is a beautiful city. And three, it reminds me a lot of the game called Heavy Rain. I played Heavy Rain, I guess, just once through, but I was very wrapped up in the storyline and in the characters. And I think that The Last of Us has the ability to recreate that sort of emotional connection to characters that games like Battlefield doesn't necessarily meet with.
Now, Nova, have known from our previous conversation that you're not the biggest fan of Uncharted series. You think that the Uncharted series is just okay and everything. And this game is made by the same development crew, and the game mechanics actually look very similar to Uncharted, and even the game color palette and graphics, it's very similar to Uncharted. So what is the catch that is dragging you on to this game versus Uncharted?
Well, okay, so The Last of Us and Uncharted are both made by Naughty Dog, which is technically a flagship Sony company. And so that's great and all. What sort of inspires me about The Last of Us instead of Uncharted is that Uncharted is more of a platformer game. I love the 2D platformers. Once they turned 3D, I was less in love with them. In fact, I think the last 3D platformer I liked was Super Mario 64 for the N64. Um, Now, that throws kind of Zelda out of the mix because it's not a true platformer. It's more of a strategy simulation puzzle solver game. That's how I see it. I know that some of you guys will disagree with me, but The Last of Us is just supposed to be a survival action adventure game. So I do not think it will have any of the platformer nature of Uncharted. I could be very wrong on that. But I'll still play it and I'll still love it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, that's a very nice observation just by seeing the trailers. Any observations on The Last of Us that you have, Eerie?
Okay, well, I've been following The Last of Us pretty much since the first day the trailer came out, and I have to say I like what I see. It has the same, I think it has the same, it's working with the same game engine that the Uncharted series worked with, and in my opinion, that game engine was pretty nice. I loved the graphics and the animations that uh, game would give you, and The Last of Us looks pretty much, I would say, 95 to 98% the same as Uncharted in terms of graphics. Uh, but another thing is, uh, unlike Nova, I love the Uncharted series, uh, and I bought all three games. And although I did trade all three of them back in once I completed the campaign, it would three of them would still be in my top 10 favorite games of all time. In all fairness, all in one, probably around the point. But anyway, um, because it's done by Naughty Dog, it immediately had my attention anyway. One, because I loved Uncharted so much, and I can see now that a new Uncharted game isn't going to come out for, I would say, at least 3 to 4 years, if at all. I am going to be completely focused on this series as my main single player sort of thing for the year. Another thing is that, again, because of the graphics look brilliant, and I'm just intrigued by that. And again, the campaign looks interesting to say the least. It is a apocalyptic game, and in all honesty, I haven't really seen anyone do something like this before. I know everyone has those Walking Dead sort of series, where there are these survivors out in the middle of nowhere. They've survived the first wave of zombies or whatever, and are trying to survive and make it back to civilization or whatever. This game, on the other hand, if you read into it, this man and this 14, 15-year-old girl, the teenager, are actually moving away from civilization and going out on their own. And to me, that's interesting, because if you watch The Walking Dead, as an example, on TV, you would see that the group in that series, in that television series, is trying their best to try to make as many friends along the line and try to make it back to civilization with law, order, leadership, all the rest. And that's all well and good. That will make for a great series. But with The Last of Us, they're doing the opposite. They're moving this man and this teenage girl are moving away from the main group for unknown reasons. And to me, that's interesting just to see where they're going to go with this.
Yeah, I think this series focus on a different set of emotions than what the Uncharted series focused on. The Uncharted series was more about the feeling of action and adventure with a little bit of humor mixed in, whereas this series is about the seriousness and basically the love and caring between that father and I believe it's his daughter, right? That he is traveling with, and the sense of danger that is lurking around, and whether they are able to get out of that situation or not. So I think the set of emotions are very different than the Uncharted series. So I love the Uncharted series. I like their single player campaign, each one of those. So I'm very interested to see what Naughty Dog does with this series.
So the next topic up for discussion tonight is Battlefield 3 Premium. I'm specifically talking about the August content drop, the bonus content drop. So if you guys go to your premium calendar, hopefully while you're not in the car, because that would be unsafe. But if you go to your bonus content drop, on the bottom of the calendar, the bottom line, on August, we're supposed to have a bonus content drop. And it just says, enhance your Battlefield 3 experience with this bonus content drop. More detail will be added to this item closer to the release. Now, it is currently August 19th when we are recording this podcast. And that is halfway through August, and we have not heard anything about this bonus content drop. Now, something interesting between my experience on PS3 Premium and PC Premium. On the PC Premium calendar, the bonus content drop for June is listed as the Back to Karkand expansion pack, whereas on PS3 there is no June bonus content. So I thought that it's possible that there's something afoot in the DICE dimension. Now, obviously, they are not going to deliver us a expansion pack in August. We know we have Armored Kill coming up in September, but what could this content drop be? Do you guys have any ideas?
I'm kind of thinking possibly a weapons pack. Enhance your battlefield experience. That to me kind of sounds like you get the edge over your competitors, and without giving a map pack with that, there's not many things they could give you, unless they want to give you vehicles that only you could use in certain maps, and that would just be completely unfair. So to me, they're more likely going to give a weapons pack.
Do you think the weapons would be in the pack?
I would love to see a new sniper being introduced into the game, because I have all snipers unlocked, and I have to say, you get bored of them after a little while. I would love to have a new one to explore and play with. That's just coming from me, but I could also see them possibly bringing in new SMGs, and maybe an LMG for the what would you call it? The support class. I don't think there's enough really focused on the support class. I would love to see a few guns introduced onto the support class, just to kind of bring it up to the same level as the rest of the playable classes in the game.
Yep, that works. Zitter, do you have any predictions?
It's kind of strange regarding the bonus content pack. What I saw on the schedule is there is a bonus content pack released every month, which is always before the DLC. So it's like a bonus content pack comes in August, then the DLC comes in September, which is Armored Kill DLC. Then there is a bonus content pack in November, and then there is a DLC which is coming out in December. So I think whatever they are going to release in this bonus content pack, if they're even gonna release a bonus content pack, is gonna be related to the DLC. It could be something, I'm not entirely sure, but my speculation is that it is something to make the DLC balanced, or make it adapt, give them some kind of weapons early. Could be weapons, could be some artillery, could be some attachment on some guns, to make them adapt to the DLC that is coming next month, and get everybody a little bit hyped up about the DLC, because that's what I see on the schedule, is that bonus content packs are always getting released a month before the DLC.
Just in terms of what you were saying, it makes a lot of sense to have it released before the actual expansion pack releases, which I believe is scheduled for the 11th of September.
Yes, the Armored Kill expansion pack, we have finally got a release date at Gamescom. For premium members, it would be September 4th. For non-premium members in North America, September 11th, and for European members, 14th of September.
And that is for the PlayStation 3 only, correct? Because we are supposed to get that a week early?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so it's possible that they forgot and are actually releasing it on the 4th. So it's possible that on Tuesday the 28th, we, as PS3 members, possibly could get something in August as sort of like a precursor, in which the other consoles, you're saying, could possibly come in the first week of September?
Yes, I believe.
Okay. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, it's kind of very confusing, because when they released Close Quarter DLC, You remember the PC players, they got the access to the weapons that were in close quarters,
Yes.
but they didn't had access to close quarters because it was kind of PS3 gets their first exclusive deal. So, but I mean, I- if there was something in this bonus content pack, it's 19th of August. DICE should already give the details on it if they have
Mm-hmm.
something. I think they just, I'm thinking more along the lines that they put something on the schedule and they forgot about it. And even if they give us something now in this bonus content pack, it wouldn't be thought as much in detail, and it would be something they can just do quickly and just get it out to people.
Yeah. Here's kind of my two predictions that could possibly happen. Um, I just checked, and the close quarters pack did indeed include the guns that it came with. So I believe that will follow over, although there are no uh, new weapons listed on the Armored Kill expansion pack yet. So it's possible that weapons could be a part of that bonus content drop, like Erie suggested. It could also be that DICE did just forget about it, like ZitterZap suggested, and they'll just throw in an extra weekend of double XP, and that'll appease the masses, and it'll make me okay.
Yeah, speaking about double XP weekends in August, I don't think we have had any, right?
Let's see.
No.
I haven't really played much this month. There is one coming up this next weekend, though.
Yeah, so I mean that's what happens with double XP weekend. Even in the past month, DICE forgets all about it, and then they lose. Then they do two double XP weekend back to back because they have to do a special one for the premium members, and then for the for the non-premium members, they also like to do at least one a month or one every 2 months. So I think it's just something that that is on the schedule which they haven't figured out yet or something like that. Moving on to the new DLC Armored Kill that is coming up, we saw a new trailer which was released at Gamescom. And in this trailer, we got our first look at the Death Valley map. And this map is the night map, and and supposedly it's pretty big. So I just wanted to ask you guys, do you guys like night map, and what were your impression on the trailer?
Well, uh, I think it certainly looks fun. You know, I'm kind of with a lot of other Battlefield players in that I don't always hop in those vehicles first thing. So I'm not quite sure if this is going to be the expansion pack for me. Um, Obviously, I'm going to play it because it's coming out and I like playing new things. But as far as things go, I think having a night vehicle map will be pretty interesting. We had one with Tehran Highway. That was a night map, but it took place in a city, so there were a lot of lights all around the place. I'm going to be interested to see if there is some form of places on the map that do not actually have light. So you could be driving through a forest right next to an enemy tank and not even notice it. I think that would be a pretty cool thing. I don't know if that's going to be a part of it. You know, just looking at the trailer again, it doesn't really look like we'll have that as, you know, pitch darkness. But I think it would be a neat thing to have. It would make it certainly more lifelike.
Yeah, I for one, I never liked Tehran Highway all that much. But I do like the first base on Tehran Highway, in which there is kind of an open hills and mountains on the side, and it's kind of dark. I mean, you can really do some tactical stuff on that first base by using thermals and other guns and attachment. So if the map is more like that, that will please to me. Overall, I don't have a lot of fun on night maps usually. They're just too dark, and maybe it's my TV or my setup in which I can't see they don't seem that clear and that crisp to me to enjoy. What are your thoughts, Erie?
Well, I for one thought Turan Highway was pretty much the worst map they brought out as a standard map with the game, simply because it's a night map, and as Nova said, has 95% of the map is covered in lights. And I just think, what's the point of doing a night map if you're going to put lights all around it? There's no point to it. You may as well just put the map into the day. And in all honesty, I thought it would be a cool map if it was in daytime. I thought it would be a bit of a change, and excuse me, I thought it would be pretty cool. But on other games, I played Tom Clancy's Future Soldier, not Future Soldier, Ghost Recon 2. I played that online, and I can't remember the name of the map, but it was a night map, and I loved it. It was absolutely pitch dark. But in that game, you could set an attachment on your helmet to give you night vision goggles, and you would unlock them about halfway through unlockable things through the game. So you would be maybe half your team could have night vision goggles, and some of the other team could have night vision goggles, and others couldn't. So, some guys would be running around with night vision goggles on, and if you dressed yourself in black uniform, you would be pretty much invisible if you were running around the perimeter of the map just picking off enemies. While other guys, because they wouldn't have night vision goggles and because the map would be pitch dark, they would have to use their flashlights. This was effective in revealing enemies to them and letting them move around more efficiently than having the flashlights off. It gave away their position by a good 100 meters. I think they should adapt that to this night map to make it the most efficient thing they could. They can do with the map. I remember, like, obviously you two watch Culprit's YouTube. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you two probably noticed that he's always bitching about wanting sunglasses. Because the sun on certain angles in certain maps can blind you pretty badly, and you can't get that straight shot. And in the same way that he wants sunglasses, I want night vision goggles. Because if they're gonna put in a night map into a game, I want it to be as realistic as possible. In a realistic battle situation, you're not always gonna have the moonlight there to shine on the tank that's gonna be 50 meters away from you. I want to be able to barely see the tank, but have the option to put night vision goggles on and see the tank from a mile away.
But
That would be
that
pretty
could
cool.
be our bonus content drop, the night vision goggles, enhance your
For premium
battlefield.
only.
Yeah, for premium only. Okay, yeah, that would have a lot of raging angry people. But
And have a lot of people running out to buy premium.
yeah,
Well, because they do something like it's available to premium members before the map pack comes out, but maybe 2-3 weeks later they did stuff like this with they're actually doing it with Battlefield 3. Excuse me. You can buy what would you call it, classes. So instead of having to rank up your classes, you already have everything. So you buy the recon class, you already have the maximum sniper, and you can have that at level 4 instead of having to go up to level 55 or 5 kernel and not even be done recon yet. So you could have the M998 or whatever it's called, the 50 caliber version in Battlefield 3. by the time you're by level 4, instead of having to wait maybe 6 months to unlock it. And to me, that's all well and good, but they could do something like if these night vision goggles are going to come out this bonus pack before the map pack, they could do something. Yeah, you unlock everything that you got, that the premium members got. You have to pay $5. So you'll get night vision goggles. They could throw in other things like like they could do stuff like night vision goggles. They could do thermal goggles for all we know. And that, to me, that'd be pretty cool. In all honesty, thermal goggles instead of night vision goggles. The battlefield twist to a nighttime adaptive scenario.
Yeah. Although overall, it looks to me that it would be highly unlikely that they're gonna come with night vision goggles. Some of the some of the footage that we saw in the trailer, it showed a big moon in the sky. So I think the Death Valley map would be pretty much illuminated with moonlight, uh, unlike the street lights in Tehran Highway. So it might be a little darker than Tehran Highway, but it's definitely probably not gonna be pitch dark. So I think we're gonna have to wait and see. So the next news that we're gonna move on to, we just got this news last week. DayZ might receive a console port. I don't know whether this is a good news, bad news. I think Nova can shed more light on this. Uh, Nova, do you feel like there will be some elements, game elements in DayZ that will not translate well to the console?
Uh, that's a good question. As far as whether it's a good or bad idea, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it would certainly work, but I'm not sure if it's the best allocation of resources. But as far as things go, there are definitely some limitations that would be associated with a console version of DayZ. And the big, pretty much the only thing that I would see that wouldn't work is just the variety of controls. So on DayZ, there are basically controls for everything. Pretty much every key on your keyboard does something new. There aren't enough buttons on any console unless if you add a keyboard peripheral. So I just don't think that unless if you have the keyboard, the game will be drastically different. So I'm not sure how it would work on the console, especially if you don't have the keyboard.
So usually when there are a lot of buttons and a lot of different attachments and inventory items to be pulled out, what the console users do is they have that circle navigation in which you press a button and a circle comes up, and you're able to select one of the elements. Don't you think that element will work fine for the kind of inventory items and everything that DayZ has?
I think it's a possibility. I think the overall functions of the game will work just fine, but I think that when we get to the nitty gritty, it might be affected a little bit. Obviously, it's possible. So on DayZ, to open your inventory, you hit, oh man, I can't remember. It's either G or H. It's been a while. To open your map, you hit M, and WASD for movement and stuff like that. It would be easily recreatable on the console just by increasing the start menu or adding a select menu or making one of the buttons open a radial menu and then that button then closes the radial menu. But I think that would also decrease your reaction time to certain events, and that might give you a little bit of a disadvantage, both in the PvP spectrum and even against zombies.
So Eerie, do you have any thoughts on the console port of DayZ?
DayZ going onto a console, I can see it being a possibility. But for me, I would rather see it not come out on the PS3 and wait for the next gen to come out instead and put on PS4 instead. Because one thing is that, in all honesty, I don't think like an online server, like an online server on a PS3, not PS3, an Xbox 360, an online server on an Xbox 360 of a 225 kilometer square map. Um, I don't think the Xbox would. Let's say, I don't think it would be able to support it fully. I think there would be a lot of lag, in all fairness, because the PS3 is pretty powerful in its own respect. But like with a Battlefield 3 map, the biggest, it must be 2-3 miles squared at most. compare compare that to a 225 kilometer squared country, and it's a big difference.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
that's
you're
a
going.
yeah, I think that's a good point that you make that the amount of players that are in DayZ in a single map, our current gen consoles may not be able to support it. Nova, what is the maximum amount of players in DayZ in on a single map?
Well, the server sizes range from 20 up to 100. Um, so as far as numbers go, the consoles can indeed handle them. We've seen that in games like Mag, which handles up to 256 players per server. Um, and as far as the scale, going all the way back to the PS2, we had Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which was a gigantic world. Now it had a little bit of load time fluctuations, but it never went to a loading screen when changing towns or cities or counties. So I certainly think that the current gen can handle the size of the map as well. Now, I don't know if it can handle both that server size and that size of map at the same time. I guess that would be up for debate.
Yes, I think it would be a pretty challenging project to take. Regardless, it cannot be a straight port or anything like that in terms of putting DayZ on the consoles. And I kind of like Erie's idea better that develop it for the next gen console because it's gonna be very difficult to squeeze all these elements into the current generation consoles anyway.
So let's move into some Vita news. The three items up for discussion currently are the cross-buy feature, a possible price reduction, and then the global sales according to our findings at Gamescom in this past week. So, cross-buy. Uh, as I've sort of touched on before with Foosball 2012, Sony has announced that they intend to give people the full version of the PlayStation Vita game with the purchase of the PS3 version. Now, this will only be for certain games, such as PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, um, among other games like that. There was some talk about Madden 13 being that way, but I do not believe that that will be anything in the near future. It would possibly be a holiday feature or something like that, but nothing currently is set up for that. So anyway, I thought that that was pretty neat because if I planned on buying both the Vita and the PS3 version, that was going to set me back at least $100. Whereas now I pay the $60 for the PS3 game and I get to download it for the Vita for free. That allows me to play it on the go, and you guys know I love the Vita, so I won't get into that right now. Secondly, Sony has announced that they would like to do a price reduction or make a better bundle for this holiday season. A lot of people are speculating that that will be included in the Little Big Planet release date, which is near the end of September. And I think that it would certainly help sell consoles to have a not necessarily a cheaper bundle, but a bundle that included more. When I bought the Vita, I bought the first edition bundle, so I got a carrying case, a memory card, and Little Deviants for free, and I got my Vita a week early. So I'd like to see more bundles like that, except for the price that they are currently at. That would be cool. Additionally, they have announced that around 2.2 million units have been sold worldwide. Now that's a little underwhelming compared to every other console as it has been selling. But remember that the Vita has only been out in America, what is it now, 5 months? That makes it worldwide about 10 months in Japan. And so I'd say that 2.2 is acceptable right now. It's a little under where they should be, but once people realize the glory that the Vita is, I'm sure that number will change. It's interesting because they plan to sell 10 million by the end of 2012. So I don't know if they can sell another 8 million in the next 4 months. But if we see a really big price drop or a really good bundle, some really good games come out, I think it would definitely be a possibility. Maybe not very likely. Do you guys have any predictions on whether or not the Vita will sell 10 million units?
Um, I actually recently I've been following the Vita news or gaming news as journal, and I think Sony made a statement that they will not reduce the price, at least in 2012 for the Vita. So I'm thinking more along the lines of your bundle prediction. They might offer better bundles. They might even have a PS3 and PS Vita bundle, in which Vita would cost you like $100 if you kind of buy the PS3 at its regular price. If they do those kind of promotions, they can sell around a around 8 million Vitas. Now they know they're gonna come up with the next gen consoles very soon, so it wouldn't hurt them to do some PS3 bundles with Vita and get all that inventory out and make space for the new generation next gen consoles in the market.
This is just, me thinking to myself while you said that. And I had no idea until then that Sony had announced that they were going to give a price drop for this Christmas. Right? But in my own opinion, they are going to do this simply because this Christmas is going to be the last Christmas that they are going to be solely able to completely focus on the sales of the PS3. By this time next year, hopefully the next gen is going to be out, they're going to be selling, and by Christmas of next year, they're going to be focusing on the PlayStation 4 or whatever it's going to be, called. So yeah, they're trying to get rid of their PS3 stock in order to take in more PS4s and sell them. So to me, like, I know that everyone, recession, money worries, whatever, even though they're going to reduce their price, you're going to have to make a decision on whether you want to buy this year a PS3, possibly, as Zitter said, what would you call it, a PS Vita with that PS3, or you could wait another year, save your money, and buy the next gen. I mean, like, buying two separate consoles from the same company in the space of a year, it doesn't do it for me. I would go kind of either or kind of thing if I was buying a PS3 or thinking of buying a PS3 at this time, because it is late in the PS3's lifespan. So you kind of want to be thinking less PS3, more next generation consoles.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, it's not a purchase that you, me, or Nova will take because we already know that a new PS3 or new PlayStation is gonna come out soon. But to the average guy who walks in Walmart, if he sees for $300 PS Vita and PS3, he'll be like, "Oh, I can play on the PS3 and my kid can play on the Vita, something like that, and that purchase might make sense to them. Because not everybody who buys a gaming console goes and does their research, and not everybody wants the latest all the time. They sometimes, if it's a good deal, they just take it. More of an impulse buy rather than a purchase in which people will go and research out things. But talking about moving on to the stores, I think Nova had some weird experience at GameStop.
Yes, I did. So, as you guys know, I did buy my girlfriend a PS Vita for her birthday. And one of the games I recommended in a previous episode for everyone to buy for their PS Vita is Unit 13. So I go into GameStop. So Unit 13 costs $25 used at GameStop. And with the 10% off for being a bonus rewards member, you get it for, I think, $22.50, which makes sense because that's 10% off of 25. Well, one thing you need to know about Unit 13 is that it has a set aside online access code. So in order to access the online content of Unit 13, you need to put in a code. They've been doing this for video games for a couple of years now, and whether or not we think that's ethical could be another discussion for later. But until now, GameStop hadn't really cared at all. They were selling their used games, they were making their money, and then you had to go on to the network from wherever you bought that game and buy the online pass. Except for Unit 13 on the PlayStation Vita, GameStop gave me a code for the online pass. And I thought that this was pretty interesting. I wasn't sure if this was GameStop's new, I guess, way to get back at game companies for charging to activate their online games, or could it just be Unit 13? Could it just be the PlayStation Vita? How universal is this online access code gift, I guess, from GameStop? What do you guys have to say?
So Nova, you bought a used copy of Unit 13 and you got online access code with it?
That is correct.
Okay, that's kind of strange. I'm kind of surprised at it. Um, it might be it might be a promotion to promote people PS Vita. I'm pretty sure that GameStop is not going to spend $10 from their pocket and buy you an online access code. And I'm pretty sure you also you also agree with the same thing.
Yes, I certainly agree with that. And actually, GameStop has been, in the news for the past couple of years, being sued now and then for not telling customers about the online access code. So I was shocked when the guy handed me the receipt and said, "Don't lose this, it has your online access code on it." Because I did not expect that to happen.
Maybe they're getting in contact with games that are not like blockbuster games, which actually want to do this little bit of promotion to get more copies sold and more gamers involved and get get gamers to play their games. About the class action lawsuit, after a class action lawsuit in California, GameStop has agreed that they will give all the customers an online pass DLC warning. So they're going to tell the customer, hey, this game that you are purchasing for us that is used, it will require an online pass if you ever decide to play multiplayer. I think it's good. It's a good news, but at the same time, I think it's a little sad that it took a class action lawsuit for something that should have been part of the customer service anyway. I mean, when you go to Best Buy, if you're purchasing a TV or something, the person at the counter, he will try to tell you as much information as possible about the TV or the product. I think I wish GameStop could be more that way and be upfront about what they are selling. Nothing against the online passes, but it's nice to see that anybody who is not informed enough and is purchasing games at GameStop, at least the guy who's selling the game will give them a little bit of warning that hey, you will need to purchase an online pass. So I mean, if you give more information to the customer, that's always better. Anyway, moving on to a roundtable discussion. The first discussion we have is about free-to-play games. Now, you might be hearing news from EA, especially, and many other companies that are saying that, hey, we are going to release more and more on free-to-play games because free-to-play games are more profitable for them. What do we think about that, Noah? Do we like this trend? Do we like the free-to-play games? And what free-to-play games are you playing right now?
All right, let's break this down a little bit. You asked me quite a few questions in there. First, I will talk about the profitability of free-to-play games. As for myself, as far as free-to-play games, I have not put more than $10 in my whole life into free-to-play games. So is it profitable? For me, no. For other people, absolutely. And here's why. I think that it sort of levels the playing field. Sort of like real life. There's those of us, especially Erie, who are just naturally gifted at everything. And then there's those of us, maybe Zitter, who have to buy greatness. So, it allows people to climb the video game ladder at a faster rate than those just born with natural skill, which I think really makes those people feel better about themselves. And if free to play is the way to do that, that's fine. I've seen no overwhelming power come from the ability to purchase things. Now, I've heard that there are a couple games which have turned into more of a buy to win instead of a free to play. So whoever spends the most money gets the win. And I personally stay away from those games. So I really have no comment about those. But as far as the games I play, like Blacklight Retribution, some of the MMOs, although that's not my usual bag of chips. So really just stick with Blacklight Retribution. As far as it goes, I can see how buying new weapons would help, but I'm certainly not at a disadvantage from the player spending hundreds of dollars every week on that game.
That's a really good point you made there, Nova, by saying that you do not play games which are buy to win. I believe free to play is a great model. It gives the gamer something to play for free, and then the gamer can decide whether he wants to spend money on the game or he wants to keep playing it like the way it is. If a game actually develops more into a buy to win situation, the gamers who are playing that game, they leave that game and they go on and play some other game. So I think in that terms, free to play does work, and I believe that people who spend money on these games, most free to play games, are at a slight advantage, but it's not a complete domination. What do you think about that, Erie?
I have had my fair share with browser-based free-to-play games. I've played the two I mentioned earlier, Supremacy 1914 and Empire Universe 2. But I've also played a variety of different free-to-play games. The main reason I would quit a game is that because I am not going, like, it says free to play, so it should be completely free to play. It may be free to join the game and participate in events and participate in a battle or set up your country, whatever. But if, say, some guy that won the lottery yesterday wants to go and smash out and say he spends $200 on the in-game currency, then he could upgrade his troops, ships, whatever, buy guns, whatever. And if that gives him a complete and utter domination over people that, one, may not want to buy these things because he thinks they're a waste of money, like me, or two, Two, people that can afford to pay that sort of money on these things simply, and then that's the reason they are playing that game in the first place, because they do not want to pay for enjoyment from a simple game. So, in my personal opinion, it's fine to have an in-game currency which you can buy, so you can cut 12 arrows off the building of a man-made structure, or you can cut the time off getting your troops from A to B, or you can buy a weapon. If that just gives you a slight advantage, I like that, because I will do that every now and again. But I will not just do it for me. I will also do it for the game. Give it, it's free to play. So most of the guys in there working on the game constantly are probably working um, they're doing the same sort of thing that a lot of people in DICE or Naughty Dog would do, but they're doing them on less wages. So how are they gonna get their wages? They make it off those simple little in-game currencies. So I would throw in 20 euros every maybe year, maybe, and just say, no, it's optional to me, but it's just say thank you for giving me this nice little game that I can spend an hour or two in my spare time on every day. But I'm the same as Nova. If a game is completely dominated by pay to win sort of scenarios, then people control their money. I don't care. I'll just exit the game and find a game where everyone is on a level playing field, whether they want to buy the game or not.
Yeah, the good thing is that because the whole market is gravitating towards free to play, you have an option. So when you say that, hey, this game has completely become pay to win or buy to win, you you uninstall that game and you download another free to play game which is not completely dominated by people who are spending a whole lot of money on the game. One great example of a free-to-play game recently I have seen is Ghost Recon Online. What they did was they took a little part of their multiplayer, which they already developed for Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and they released it as a free-to-play game with guns and attachments that you can buy in the game with real money, or you can accumulate experience and spend those experience points on buying guns and all those things. And certainly, a lot of browser-based games are part of this free-to-play movement also, and they are doing. Some of them are just time pass games in which you just click things and you wait for things to farm out. But some of them, they really have some really cool strategy involved. Nova, you want to talk about some of these browser-based games?
Yeah, since tablets have become more popular, free-to-play games are also taking over kind of on them. We all remember what was it? Farmville? Is that the game?
Yes.
Yeah, I clearly didn't play Farmville, but we all remember Farmville and how it was a free-to-play game. Lord of Ultima is another pretty popular one right now. And there are a lot on these tablets too. I actually played one for Android called Empire Defense 2. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, if you pay money, it's kind of saves you a lot of time and you don't have to sit through and unlock all these things. But even going back maybe 5, even 10 years ago, we look at websites like armorgames.com and addictinggames.com. These websites are full of free-to-play games. Now, the difference is they have become more donation-friendly, I guess you could say. So we can directly put money into the developer's hands, treating that as downloadable content or purchase in-game. Some are just saying, hey, I made this game. If you guys like it, give me some money. as far as I see, that sort of fits the free-to-play model, though they're typically not defined as a free-to-play game. They're defined as a browser-based game. So I think it's interesting to think about that. In the future, we see the new Ouya console, which is, I guess, gaining momentum. I think that is going to be a big console when it comes to free-to-play. We've already heard that they plan on releasing all of their games as far as like a demo goes, to give people a little test run before they spend their hard-earned money on it. And I think the free-to-play system would work really well on the Ouya system.
Definitely. I think one more reason that the free-to-play system will work work very well on the Ouya, is because these guys, these developers at Ouya, they are saying people, hey, hack our console, crack our console. Um, that kind of mentality kind of scares the big publishers away. But as we know, in a free-to-play game, most of the data is stored on the server, and the game cannot be hacked or cracked uh, on most of on at least most of the stuff. So I think Ouya is gonna be booming with the free-to-play content. Definitely, I agree with you there. One last closing quick comments on this. Do we guys like the industry direction towards free-to-play as gamers? Yes or no?
Yes.
Noah?
I'm going to give a tentative no, actually. I feel like as far as the games go, they're fun, but if we were paying more upfront for them, now I'm not talking about games like Counter-Strike Source or Team Fortress 2, which have now gone free to play, but games right when they come out, I think if the price for them, that helps the developers out, and it will give you a better game in the end, because the developers will say, hey, this many people paid for it right up front, let's make this game our top priority.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I liked the Ghost Recon model, which is pretty unique. If DICE decides during Battlefield 4 that they are going to release a free-to-play version of Battlefield 4, which will have maybe couple of maps, maybe smaller maps or less attachments and everything, so that people can kind of test run the game out, and then they can decide whether they want to buy the full game or whether they want to keep continue with the free to play model and keep buying attachments or whatever. So I mean, because the developers have already spent the time in developing the multiplayer, it doesn't take them a whole lot of effort to kind of just release a little bit of free to play model on the side. That might hurt their game sales, but so far I think what the industry is saying that it's working out for them. So that's cool. So yes, I'm too in support of more of the free to play model more than Nova is. I'm not that tentative about it. I think it's gonna be a great model for the future games to come. Things might not be as competitive as they are right now, but they'll be good. So the next topic is brought to us by Erie, and he is asking us basically that EA is bringing out Battlefield 4 next year. Is this too soon for another core Battlefield game? And should they be bringing out Bad Company 3 instead? So Noah, what are your thoughts on this?
I, I really don't care that much, actually. I like Battlefield, and I'll play whatever game they give me to play. As far as the storyline goes, I think we're due for another Bad Company. I'd love to see Bad Company 3 hit shelves. But if they decide to do Battlefield 4 first, I think that's totally up to them, and I will buy it all the same.
Yeah, Erie, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's too soon?
I think they should do a 4-year cycle between um core game, sidetrack game, core game, sidetrack. So um you know, like you if you played both Battlefield and the Bad Company series, the core and the Bad Company series, then you'll understand that the Bad Company series is based on a completely different universe. It's America solely at war with Russia, whereas Battlefield is kind of the single player is kind of more, how would you say, entwined in the possible um, events that will happen in the next year, or not next 2 to 3 years even. Um, so you would kind of think, they've just done Battlefield 3. It's been I think it's been 2 years since Battlefield 2, or Battlefield Bad Company 2 came out. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Battlefield 3. It is my number one game I play at the moment. But it the core will kind the core game, because they have now gone from Battlefield Bad Company 2 to Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4. They're people are gonna get used to the core game, the single player core game Battlefield 3, then the single player core game Battlefield 4. And then when Battlefield Bad Company 3 comes out, it'll kind of be like, do I want to shift from my core gameplay over to this sidetrack game? Or at least that's my kind of view on it. So to me, Battlefield Bad Company 3 should come out, and Battlefield Bad Company 4 come out in maybe 2014, 2015 kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand your point that Bad Company is kind of a sidetrack game where compared to Battlefield, which is like the main core franchise. But I have a different kind of view on this, and this might be more speculation rather than facts. Now, the reason that people are complaining that Battlefield 4 is coming out too soon, because Battlefield 3 came out 6 years after Battlefield 2. Uh, and it is mainly the PC gamers who are complaining about this issue, because Bad Company was a console only exclusive, the first Bad Company, and not a lot of PC gamers got into it, and so from there on, Bad Company series became kind of console focused series, whereas the Battlefield series was the PC focused series. So I mean, if Battlefield 3 came 6 years after Battlefield 2, if Battlefield 4 is coming out 2 years after that, it is certainly going to raise red flags with the PC gamers. As far as me, I'm a console gamer, and I'm more like Nova, who is used to seeing a Battlefield game every 2 years. So for me, it doesn't matter. If they are releasing Battlefield 4 next year, I think I'll be burnt out of Battlefield 3 and ready to play Battlefield 4. But I can certainly see the PC gamers' point that they are releasing it too early. But what people don't understand is that although Bad Company series is always focused more on console, smaller maps, more infantry combat, but Battlefield 3 is not exactly a Battlefield game. I feel it is a hybrid of Bad Company and the Battlefield series because it has the infantry combat of Bad Company, but it also has the vehicular gameplay of core Battlefield games. It has the big maps which is which basically you see in Battlefield, but it also has the close quarter maps which you see in Bad Company. So I think what DICE and EA did was they tried out this experiment and hybrid of Bad Company and Battlefield, and now they are probably going to stick with one game for the coming years. They probably might not even release a Bad Company game. Um, Many people say that Battlefield 3 is a console focused game, and I completely disagree. The menu system of Battlefield 3 looks like a console focused game, but the gameplay is completely PC based, and it is much better on the PC than it's on the console. So this is basically a port from a PC game that is very successful on the console, and I don't think DICE and EA expected it to be successful on the consoles, and I think they're gonna stick with this strategy for the coming series because in order to keep the console market engaged, they do not have to release a Bad Company 3. They can just keep releasing Battlefield games in the future every 2 years, and I think the console players would be satisfied with that. What do you guys think about that? Nova, you can go first.
I, you know, you said that you agree with me, and I'm gonna say I agree with you. As far as gaming on the console versus PC, I just like to see new games coming out. Well, actually, I hate to see new games coming out because that means I have to buy them. But as far as the gameplay, once a game gets stale, I do like moving on to a new game, and I'm hoping that that new game can be the next Battlefield. We'll see if I can make it that long without getting bored, considering we lose Battlefield 3, the last content drop being in March, we'll probably lose a little bit of interest around summer of next year. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, what I'm thinking about is this is Battlefield 3 is more of a consolidation of both the series, and they're probably going to continue with one series rather than having two different series because Battlefield 3 has managed to please both console and PC gamers, and they might want to keep the same formula.
Yeah,
Eerie?
that's certainly a good idea.
Yeah, Eerie, any thoughts on that?
Well, I would like Battlefield to take in the same mentality that Call of Duty have. Um, as you both well know, the main Call of Duty game, the Modern Warfare franchise, and they brought out Modern Warfare 1. Then they had World at War, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2. Then there are, I would say, more than likely be a Modern Warfare 4, almost definitely. Um, but for me, I would love to see. You see, they did Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, and instead of uh, like I'm hoping Medal of Honor Warfighter and then Medal of Honor done. Battlefield 3, Bad Company, or Battlefield 4 even, Bad Company 3 into next year instead of a Medal of Honor, and then the next Battlefield core game, and then the sidetrack game, the same that Call of Duty do. They do the core game, then next year they'll bring out a new sidetrack game, then they bring out a new core game, then the sidetrack game, instead of DICE and EA splitting their resources, not only going onto a sidetrack game, but a completely different franchise, which you would pretty much like. Can you imagine? It's like um, instead of kind of getting the same idea but putting it into a new idea, instead of doing it like that, they're going and creating a completely new idea and going with that. So they're going from one really good franchise to a less good franchise than a really good franchise. But on the really good franchise, they still have the sidetrack game, which to me, in a couple of years, if they haven't brought out a Bad Company 3 game in the next few years, like we all know Battlefield 4 definitely coming out 2013. If they don't bring a Battlefield uh, Bad Company 3 game out by 2015, in all honesty, I won't be happy because Bad Company 3, the single player, I loved, and they kind of left at the end. They kind of just left it there, unfinished. and they left it there, implying that there would definitely be another Battlefield 3 game. And in all honesty, I was expecting to see another Bad Company 3 game, the Bad Company 3 game before Battlefield 3. Before the announcement of Battlefield 3, I was thinking Battlefield 3 would come out more 2013, around the time that Battlefield 4 comes out, and Bad Company 3 comes out around the time of when Battlefield 3 actually came out. That was my mentality. And then I found out Battlefield 3 was coming out, and that came as a huge shock to me, because the Bad Company series was a huge phenomenon, and in all honesty, I didn't think EA and DICE thought it would be as good as it was. But again, PC gamers, they wanted a new core game that was focused on PC gaming. But as you said, hybrid of the two franchises, or sorry, not two franchises, two different games to form Battlefield 3. That I didn't really think of it before now, but it kind of does make sense, because they brought together uh, the ideas of a mainly infantry game of Battlefield 3 and a mainly vehicle-based game from Battlefield 2, and they brought it together to form Battlefield 3. So it combined a console-focused game, a PC game, and it kept both consoles and PC gaming happy. So yeah, it was a good move, and I'm glad they did bring it out. But I would still love to see a new Battlefield Bad Company game.
Yeah, definitely. The Bad Company single player campaigns were, I would say, they were a little cheesy, but they were pretty funny at the same time. So I wouldn't mind playing a campaign on of Bad Company 3. Maybe if Medal of Honor fails this year, they might just do a Bad Company 3 next year after Battlefield 4, and then we might have some regular Bad Company 3 games. Okay, guys, moving on to our review section, we have a very special review today, something which is very new. NOVAxDRAGON is going to review the Bourne Legacy, and I think he watched it first day or second day. Nova?
Well, I actually just watched it today.
Oh.
So not quite the opening night or anything like that. It's not really a fanboy movie, because there's only been 3. However, I did think it was an okay movie. There was certainly a lot of action. I think I'll just sum it up with some hits and misses. We'll go with the first hit. It had a lot of action. It kept me on the edge of my seat for, I would say, 70% of the movie, which brings up a pretty big miss. In that 30% of the movie, I was borderline bored. There's a big portion of the movie right in between 2 pretty big chase scenes where really nothing happens. There's a little bit of, plot development, a little bit of character development, but essentially it's just a lot of talking, which, I don't go to a Bourne movie to see talking. I go to a Bourne movie to see one of the, I guess, modified soldiers beat up a whole bunch of people. That's essentially what I'm doing when I go see it. Another hit is that they did involve the previous Bourne trilogy without relying solely on the Bourne trilogy. So there's a new agent. He has a completely different life. Jason Bourne is never really in the movie per se, but he is referenced throughout, which I thought was a great addition to the series. But we also get to a miss in that I felt a little bit of disconnect every now and then between the other 3 movies. Not necessarily as far as the storylines, because they were different. However, there was less mystery in this movie. The best way I can say that is in the first three, we were never quite sure about what was going to happen next. We were never quite sure about, will Jason Bourne keep his powers, or will he find his true identity? Will he make it to the end of the movie? Now we look back and we see, yes, he did indeed make it to the end of the movie. But as far as this movie goes, they explain way too many things. So we see that they take some pills every day, and I don't want to give away any endings, but they explain why they take pills and things like that. You lose a lot of the behind-the-scenes mystery that makes the Bourne movie so much fun to watch over and over again. I don't think that the Bourne Legacy will be a repeat watch, as far as I'm concerned. It was a lot of fun to watch the first time, but I don't think there's anything that I'm left wondering about. So I don't see myself watching it again, at least anytime soon.
That's funny, Nova, because actually my wife, she was calling up, she was interested in this movie. She loved the first three movies, and she was calling up her friends and asking them whether they have seen it, and can they tell her whether it's any good or anything. So I think when she listens to the podcast, she'll have her review, and whether she want to drag me to the movie hall to watch the movie or not. So I'm happy with your review, though. I don't think she's gonna drag me to the movie hall now.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly fun. I wouldn't pay more than $7 to see it in the theaters, though. And that was, I mean, I wouldn't really want to pay more than $1. I'd see it for free. My dad paid for the ticket, I'll be honest.
Okay, so a free movie review for us.
Yep.
Anyway, talking about movies and videos, if you guys haven't downloaded it yet, there is a YouTube app that is available on the PS3. So go right now and download it. And I tried the app for about an hour, and I really like it. The picture quality is great. You can log in into it, log in into the app, and you can see all your channel subscriptions, whatever. The best feature of this app is that in the app, you can go to one of the menu item which says pair your tablet or pair your device. And when you click on that item, it gives you a pairing code. Now, when you have that code, you can go to youtube.com/pair, enter the code, and after that, whatever movie or video you will play on your browser in your cell phone, I'm pretty sure you can do it via PC too, will automatically be played on your PS3 and on your HD TV. So it's a cool little feature. Do give it a try. That is, I think, the best feature in this app. And yeah, YouTube app on the PS3, loving it. So go ahead and try it. I'm pretty sure Nova is going to try it and tell us about it next week.
All right, guys, that's all we have for you today. We would like to thank you for listening. We would also like to send a extra special thank you to Mr. Ireland himself, Eerie Nightmare.
My pleasure.
And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at Anonymous Squad. Email us at anonymoussquadcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a voicemail at 6619A-SQUAD, and we will play it on the show.
And you can subscribe us at anonymoussquadcast.blogspot.com. You can add us on Skype, Anonymous Squadcast. Leave us a voice message. We'll play it on the show. Guys, we are also live on iTunes. Don't leave us a rating yet because we are still figuring out this podcast. And I want to send a special thank and shout out to the Geekcast. It is a podcast about electronics and Apple products and a lot of other geeky things. In their recent episode, they reviewed a Chevy Volt. I sent them an email, and they actually gave us a shout out on the show. Thanks to Aaron and Gozer. Also, guys, if you want to play with us, add us on PlayStation Network, ZitterZap, NOVAxDRAGON, Eerie Nightmare. It is spelled as EIRE_NIGHTMARE. And Eerie Nightmare would like to say that he plays Crysis 2 and Battlefield Bad Company 2. So if you guys are interested in playing those games, add him, send him a message, and thank us later. We'll see you in the next episode. See ya, guys. Oh, I thought you guys were supposed to say see ya with me.
No, you're good. That's it.
Okay, that's good. I'm on
That's
hold.
a wrap. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. God, Nova is happy.